Hello, this is our care coordinator information sharing session, monthly session for October, and today is October 7th, 2025. Welcome to our care coordinator community who's with us. And we have a few different things to go through. We have myself, Kara, and we have Cassandra and Damon with the training team, and we have Kat Lipinskis, who is our care coordinator liaison with you here today. Let's look at our agenda. We have a couple special topics. Public notices is up at the top here. Um, we wanted to show you how we find public notices and how to subscribe. So we'll click on that link and hopefully we'll be able to, reshare and explain that. We have a few different reg sets that are coming up for public input. So solicitation for public input. You or and the families that you serve may be interested in providing public input for these regs, and we will send you a copy of this document by email, and we'll have it available within our LMS too as a download. It's handy because it will give you the links for the actual session about public input. Now, it's part of the regulatory process. It's a little bit sort of kind of new around regulatory process. Most of us already know about we have a public comment period, and a public comment period is required of different of the people who are affected by regs. Any citizen who wants to comment can go through the public comment period. They also have a tribal uh, comment period or interaction period, if you will, around regulations before the final regulations are released. But prior to all that, they have a public input. So this is a person's chance to learn and give input about the revisions. So first we have the skilled nursing facility and intermediate care facility one, and general relief is listed next. Home and community-based waiver revisions are listed next, and personal care services and community first choice, and infant learning program regs. So there's resources here for anyone who is affected by these or interested in these can participate. If people want to give written comments, they can give written comments to our policy manager, who is Jordan Grant. So very quickly here, let me see if I can get onto the online public notices. We call it OPN for short. And this is where you can see all of and I'm going to have to reshare. So hang on just a sec. Stop share and reshare. And then I might need a little guidance doing this. It's not something I do every day. I do it fairly often, but not every day. But you can search. This is all of our online public notices for regulations and other things that require public notice to happen. It's always there's a regulation behind it for all of the state um, divisions and departments, not just us, not just Department of Health, Senior and Disability Services. So there's different ways you can look at it. You can search them. You can browse active notices. You can even log in with My Alaska, your account. Um, it has a little list of the most viewed ones here. So you can see there's quite a variety of regulations that are of interest to the Alaskan community. I guess if they got clicked on, then they come up in this list. So those are the popular ones right now. You can save your searches. You can you can subscribe. Um, you can subscribe to your notices that match a specific search criteria here. You can get all of them. Um, and you can also build your own subscription. So you may not want to get notices from Fish and Game and things like that. You would have to go ahead and subscribe. Probably I would use Search Now to search and get the ones from Department of Health. I mean, you can do whatever it is you like to do, but that would be something that I would want to do just to not have to get every single notice. So I'm going to try to search one. Hopefully, I don't have to reshare. Tell me if am talking about stuff you're not seeing. But I could try home and community
Senior and
based
services is kind of how I use it as well. You could do it that way. But yeah, waiver works. Yeah.
waiver. Is that what you think that'll work? Maybe. Let's try. No results. Okay. Do we have any out now? Maybe we don't have them out yet.
You could find them. I think if you put senior and disability services, because I was playing with it, it's kind of touchy sometimes, I feel.
Okay. That's okay. It may be that we don't have them out yet under in this system, but they do come out when they're in this system. Let me try Department of Health. Might not be waiver stuff that we see. Okay. So here you go. Department of Health is like there's us and then there's Department of Health, which is all over us, right? There's lots of things that they do, not just SDS. But you can see the different notices that are there. So if you subscribe, you might want to think about subscribing to the notices for Department of Health, because you can see here's Division of Healthcare Services, Medicaid program, regulatory revisions. Healthcare Services oversees all Medicaid. So you'll probably see us underneath one of these. It needed a bigger way to search, in other words searching for public input, background check, regulatory revisions, residential licensing is here, solicitation for public input, supplemental solicitation for public input. Again, I haven't really seen that word yet, but it's probably just because they didn't complete a formal process or needed to give more input chances. Maybe nobody gave any input. Sometimes that happens. Like people don't know about it and they just didn't, or they just didn't. So here's the ones we were talking about just now. The skilled nursing one, the GR one. So yay, I found them. Home and community based waiver. And if you click on one, what does it look like? Hopefully I'm still sharing. And it says solicitation for public input, and it will give you the background and it'll give you the regulations that are in, under consideration. And they are looking for ideas about regulatory changes that may do these things: clarify, reduce costs, improve or streamline procedures, requirements, review, reduce time in application, reduce administrative burdens, streamline permitting procedures, improve communication, provide greater transparency, and clarify interagency roles. So, if you or someone you serve or any Alaskan citizen whose life is affected by these regulations would be willing to participate in the public input process, it would be great. People can find it there and their directions there. Question, Jonathan, go ahead.
Hey, Kara, thanks for bringing this up. It was something I noticed when they got posted and was curious. My memory does not serve me well here, and I don't recall a time when a governor has sent out formal solicitations for suggestions to reduce regulation. Do you have any examples that you can share of maybe department initiatives to do something similar to this?
I don't have examples. It's it's sort of new to me. In all these years, I don't when I say new, I want to say maybe about a half a dozen years ago, we started having public input things happening. I don't have examples. I think we're open to anything that you can think of or a person affected by the regulations can think of. And these regs are listed um, that would that they think their idea would result in any of these outcomes. Okay, so these are the outcomes they're looking for. So if it was me doing it, I would look at the reg and say, well, wouldn't it be nice if it was done differently? And here's my idea. And I mean, we've heard over the years, if people could use telehealth for things, or if people could use electronic. Back in the day, we didn't accept electronic signatures, things like that, things that are a way to make it easier for people. Um, the other thing about examples is it's kind of like we want to know what people think as opposed to here's a funnel by which you should put it. You know what I mean? Like it's more so we just would rather get what people are wanting, to convey, and in their own words is okay. So it's another way to be involved in the system. So 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 yeah, there's that. Look for those, participate in those, encourage people and families to participate. It's a very active. This is an active process. We want to have people take advantage of this if at all possible. Okay. What is next on my agenda? I'm just going to go to the agenda here and see what it says. I won't show it again. I think it's just I'm up to my respite presentation. Did you have any other thoughts or comments about the regulation public input period? A little bit different than public comment?
Question from Denise. And no, this is not about actual changes. This is just looking ideas, maybe about what changes need to happen or what needs to take place. So it's open to anyone, and I encourage everyone to share with families and providers and recipients, anybody who is interested in participating. So either participate by logging into the Zoom and then you could talk, or they could do emails. I think they could have written. We've gotten some letters before in the past as well with feedback, but I recommend doing email because then you can just follow up on that. Jordan's email address is listed, and we will send the agenda out to everyone so you can.
You can use all the links. You don't have to go to the OPN. But if you do, I would recommend it because then you can get all those notices, and you'll stay up ahead of it all.
But definitely share with families, share with recipients and other providers, let them know this is an opportunity to share and give feedback on any ideas and any thoughts they have. That's a really good time to provide feedback on all kinds of different things. And all feedback gets reviewed. We do review all feedback that comes our way.
Anything.
And sometimes, sometimes nobody comes to those sessions and folks are just sitting there. So this is a good time. It's an hour. You don't have to stay the whole time, but you can, and you can listen to other people. The only caveat is don't share personal information.
Right. It's not a HIPAA thing. It's not, some people may ask for help or indicate problems or something like that. It's really just ideas about how to change and don't share private info. I guess that's a good guidance for your families.
The families are free to share feedback and things they would like to see changed, but if they want to kind of share personal kind of things that are maybe HIPAA related, I would recommend sending them separately in an email to Jordan if they have specific examples that are HIPAA related. Right. Send those kinds of things separately, but they can by all means come and share their experiences and feedback.
It's up to them. It's up to them. Sometimes people are comfortable with that, or they just use, sort of generic wording to describe their situation. I mean, I'm not going to say to somebody they can't say what they want to say, but it's not a HIPAA protected forum. And Kat's idea is great. This advice is great to email it and, whatever's best for the person. I think it's open. So, yeah. Ideas are great. We'd like to have ideas along with stories. So that's what they're looking for. They're looking for ideas so that they can make proposed regs so that people can comment on those. So it's another layer in the process, which is interesting. Very interesting to me. Okay, so our next on our agenda was a short presentation about respite. We've been getting a lot of questions about respite, and they're interesting questions. So I went for it and delved into the regulation. I'm hoping to go kind of fast. I don't really want to take a ton of time, but I did find some interesting things that might generate some questions in your mind. I'll do my best to, answer them as we go to better understand respite. It's actually one of the regs that has the most layers of regulation around it, and can potentially help our individuals and families quite a bit. So, and we'll send you a copy of this as well. Also, it will be available to be downloaded within our LMS in the course. And if you're registered, you can just go in and download it. We'll put it in our resources library as well. So once it's up, again, our colleagues who are not here today can access it. We're also going to make it into a CEH, so we'll have some more interactions around it for that. So it could be a CEH for our care coordinator community for the future as well. We're hoping to have more spotlights on services as CEHs as well. Okay, so respite, a break for the unpaid caregiver. There is no quiz today, but our learning objectives are to define respite and to review the regulation and to think about some common respite questions and thoughts. This is just an overture for our quizzing that we would do in our LMS, but we should be able to select the definition of respite, say what it's for, know two conditions under which it's not available, and one condition in which it is available. Again, today we're not quizzing, so that's okay. I'm sure you'll know that when we're done anyway. Respite is about helping unpaid caregivers who are very important in the Alaskan's life. They are part of connected relationships, mostly. These are family and friends of the person. And let me get it back to where I can see who relies on them for essential care. And they are natural supports. So, what is respite? It is a break for the main unpaid caregiver. It gives the main unpaid caregiver a break from the demands of care. With respite, unpaid caregivers can spend time with other family members or have time to themselves, and they become refreshed so they can approach caregiving renewed in their energy. Respite is unique. It is the only service that is requested to help someone other than the waiver recipient. So I know there's a staff that does the respite, but the respite service is requested for the purpose of giving the main unpaid caregiver a break. So sometimes it gets a little bit confusing, but that's what it's for. We don't request it for any other reason. So here I've given our respite regs and then the intent of the reg. So our respite regs start out saying what we'll pay for under the adherence to the conditions of participation. It gives the foundation of that. They're prior authorized, just like every other service we request, and don't exceed the maximum number of hours and days in this section. And we do know that we can request additional respite under certain conditions. And the regulations do sometimes wait a little while to tell you that. So if you're thinking ahead, that's okay. It's all in there. Respite's approved in I put the intent statement, the intent of the reg. It's approved in a plan, a waiver support plan, limited to 520 hours of hourly and 14 days of daily respite. Since a support plan asks for the minimum weekly average use of a service, it can look like 10 hours a week and 14 days a year if the person, daily days, if the person is requesting the full amount of respite. Our regulation goes on to say that the conditions of participation lay out how it's delivered. Once it's approved, gets prior authorization. Like I said, since respite is a break for the main unpaid caregiver, within the limit of it, uh, we should be requesting an amount of respite that matches the caregiving duties of the unpaid caregiver. Some people rely on an unpaid caregiver a lot, like they're live with them, or maybe they're somebody who provides main care, a lot of care to that individual. Other folks don't have as much care. It may be somebody they know that comes over and helps for a little while, something like that. So we need to be requesting respite to match the duties of the unpaid caregiver. So we ask that the care coordinator includes a description of what tasks the respite worker will do while the unpaid caregiver gets a break. And these are going to be the same things that the unpaid caregiver would do if they didn't have a respite worker. Minimum weekly amount is required, but respite can be used when the unpaid caregiver needs a break. It doesn't mean that a person must have 10 hours a week of respite. They can use it when they need a break, and it's a unique service available in that way. What is respite? If it's provided on an hourly basis, um, it it would be hourly respite would happen in the person's home, maybe in the respite worker's home. It could happen in a licensed facility or in another community place if that place is safe for the person and their needs are met. And this is just an intent statement about the wording that's in the regulation. And we'll get into the facility part. It gets a little bit
Everyone
confusing.
is going to see this in Harmony.
Did you have a question?
You're fine. You're fine.
Okay. For respite, the regulation goes to say more that for daily respite, it can happen in the person's home or, interestingly, in a licensed facility. Um, Family habilitation providers can have respite, including daily respite. A family hab respite provider can't bill family hab on the same day that the family hab provider is getting respite themselves. In other words, we can't respite ourselves. Okay, so it's not that we're providing it and getting it at the same time. Respite can happen in a licensed facility, but it's not the same as institutionalization. It's a temporary stay in a facility under urgent circumstances where there's no other way to meet the need for respite and the needs for the person. So, this is interesting because it goes on to say that a person could have respite potentially in a facility or a hospital or a place like that. But the purpose of this is because the person needs care like that, and that care is available to them in a place, in a facility, and the facility agrees to provide that care under the respite category. So they're not going to be billing out waiver. They're going to be billing out regular Medicaid for that. And again, it's really not a well used clause in respite. It's really related to these urgent circumstances that people who need care to that level may only be able to access that care for respite purposes, and that's all they have. So this is about the limitation of 520 hours and 14 days of daily respite. We could request more if needed to prevent institutionalization. Daily respite is considered 12 hours or more of respite, regardless of number of providers, which includes the recipient's regular sleep time. So 12 hours or more, including their regular sleep time, is considered a day. Main unpaid caregiver may, in some cases, be a paid provider of other waiver services and or personal care services to the recipient. But we know that those services are, meaning the waiver services or PCS, are not 24-hour services. So this caregiver who is paid to provide those other services can receive respite. We need to describe how they help the person in their unpaid time. Okay, so a temporary stay in a facility. This is an interesting part that is rarely used because of certain conditions must be met, but our regulation does have wording about it. Unpaid caregiver may get respite while the person has a temporary stay in a facility. It is to meet certain relatively rare urgent needs when there's no other option. The unpaid caregiver, for example, an unpaid caregiver may be providing care to meet needs like a nursing facility would meet them, or acute care hospital. They're unable to provide that care temporarily due to needing a break for whatever circumstances they're going through. There is no ICF IID in Alaska, but these circumstances may arise when a person is choosing ICF care outside of Alaska. These are very situational. So it's just wording is, we see our regs with things like this because they're trying to expand the scope for certain circumstances, and they're not usual ones. The unpaid caregiver may get respite if the recipient stays in a licensed assisted living home or another family hab home or a foster home. So that's probably more common. I'm sure we've all requested respite under that, or many of us have requested respite to give the main unpaid a break where the person is staying in a licensed place, um, a community place, licensed community home. All right. Family hab home providers can have respite, although it's not available to provide oversight to any other children, unless they also have a waiver with respite in it. So this gets into a lot of questions. The best guideline I have here is to request respite in the support plan for each recipient who has an unpaid caregiver who needs a break separately. Respite is not paid at the same time as any other waiver service that includes care and supervision of the person or personal care services. So we don't have respite at the same time as those. So requesting respite per person is the way to go because that's what the regs are going to support. We don't have a category of group respite. This is why I say that. I'm going to check our chats because I think a few came in.
I'm monitoring them. There's a
Oh,
conversation
you
about
are?
continue.
Okay.
You can now.
Can
Yeah.
I keep going? Okay. Okay. I'll get back to it. Let me get through here. Okay. A person could have respite worker while there's chore happening, transportation, and waiver meals. Okay. So those are not under the giving care directly to the person category. So it could happen during somebody cleaning the house. Could happen. The worker providing those services cannot also be the respite worker, though. Hourly respite is not available if the person has residential supported living that is out of home uh, daily service. Family directed respite is when the family identifies the respite worker, connects them with an agency, the agency hires and pays them, the family trains the worker, give them the schedule. It is available to CCMC or IDD if they have a waiver and an unpaid caregiver. The support plan must have family directed respite approved. More about family directed. This regulation is about rules for the agency which offers family directed respite. It mentions a letter on file with an agreement acknowledging responsibility. It could be provided to the care coordinator to include in the support plan. I would ask the respite agency if I had questions about that. Um, the agency must comply with the home care provider laws, including a background check. This is where, I would refer a worker to be employed there. So this is the provider's responsibilities too. They must ensure that the scheduling and direction of the respite worker complies with employment law, tax code, and protection of children and vulnerable adults. More about family directed. The agency does employ that person, the worker. The primary unpaid caregiver trains the worker, and the rules for the agency are also found in the respite care services conditions of participation. More about family directed. The unpaid caregiver signs off on the family directed respite worker's timesheet. The unpaid caregiver gives a written statement that they understand the risks they assume with family directed respite. This is all between the person and the agency, the unpaid and the agency. Unpaid caregiver does this for only one person, the person they support as the primary unpaid caregiver who has family directed respite approved in the plan, not any other individuals. That means that I'm not an unpaid caregiver signing off on things like this for anybody but that one person. I'm not including a bunch of other people in that, in my intent with that. Daily respite in a facility cannot be family directed respite. If the person has family hab home, they are not eligible for family directed respite. So it doesn't happen in a family hab home anyway. Daily respite definitions. All of our regs have a definition piece at the end. So the language defines daily respite as 12 hours or more, up to 24 hours. Family directed, a worker who is referred to the employing agency by the family and who delivers the family directed respite. Here are some common thoughts about it. Is it available outside the person's home community? It is available outside the person's home community in the services during temporary absence regulation. It is hourly respite only, available by approval in the support plan or amendment. It is available only while the recipient is in the United States or territories of the United States, not in foreign lands or foreign waters. There must be a primary unpaid caregiver who is getting a break during that time. People who have group home and residential supported living do not have a primary unpaid caregiver. So that is not respite. We get a lot of questions about how to build a daily day while the person is traveling. It is not going to be done with respite if the person has group home and residential supported living. However, a respite worker could go on a trip with the unpaid caregiver and the recipient to provide the unpaid caregiver a break. If the person is with an unpaid caregiver on a regular basis and they're doing the work for them, then the unpaid caregiver goes on a trip and maybe they help the person at home while the unpaid caregiver gets a break, referencing all the other um, scenarios I talked about in the reg here. Respite facts. It's available only if there is a main unpaid caregiver. This caregiver may also be a paid provider of other waiver or personal care services. They may get respite, a caregiver to give them a break. The support plan needs to describe what the unpaid caregiver does for the person during the unpaid time and ask for the appropriate amount of respite, a worker to provide the unpaid caregiver a break. Questions from respite. There was a memo that said respite could be used to take a person to medical appointments. Is that true? Yeah, there was a memo that said that, but we request respite for only one purpose, to give the main unpaid caregiver a break. So we don't request respite to take him to medical appointments. We request respite for the main caregiver a break. It could be reimbursed while the respite worker takes the person to a medical appointment while the unpaid caregiver is getting a break. However, guardians and representatives are, as applicable, are still responsible for medical appointments as per their duties, and parents as well. Respite request. This is some guidance that comes out from our review teams. Upon requesting respite, indicate what tasks the primary unpaid caregiver performs for the person to help explain why respite is needed. Please include info about their daily routines, activities of daily living, social and activity preferences.